How most organisations carry out their projects. Usually it starts with the non-lawyers, with the contracts professionals, and we're talking maybe procurement, maybe their commercial team, everyone does it differently. But first there's the idea of the project, and then there's the need to actually take that idea or that concept and justify it internally. So there'll be a few meetings, a few different people talking about what this project is, what it needs to do, why the organisation needs to carry it out. None of this, just keep in mind, involves lawyers. So we're very much still on the project side, on the planning side. So then you would most likely move to starting to cost the project, and you'll get your finance people involved in that. And that leads into preparing the business case as well, which is usual for most organisations. It may be called something different, but usually it's when you are actually, telling the higher ups in your organisation that you want to do this project and giving them all the reasons for why you want to do it so they can approve it or not. Still no lawyers as we continue with this particular process. So what we do next is there's probably the need to find some room in the budget for the project. And then there'll be the internal approvals which need to be actually provided, including the finance approvals and also your approvals, whether it's the board or your director or whoever the relevant delegate is. And then you start to turn to how to get the project carried out. And the project team will start talking about timing. They'll start talking about sourcing methodology. So are they going out to the market? Are they doing a limited tender? Are they just asking one particular party to prepare a quote? What are they actually going to do there? Then we start talking about the project delivery method, which is how the project's being delivered, what type of contract will be used for the project, and also risk analysis too, which can be quite intensive depending on the type of project. So that's going to be days and days of work doing this risk analysis. And you'll notice I'm still just talking about the project and the planning team. And really very few organisations up until this point involve their lawyers. And I'll make my comments at the end because I'm still going in where the project is being planned again without the invitation for the lawyers to join. So you'll probably guess where I'm going with this, that it's not necessarily a good idea. So let me finish off. So after the risk analysis, then often there's market testing. So potentially a request for information will be sent out, and different organisations may be asked to actually provide their input into the project. Then usually there's a firm internal decision made on the project and whether it's going to proceed and what the relevant timeline will be. And that I've found is the time when most projects planning people will actually go and start talking to their lawyers. It is really important for lawyers, particularly on the bigger projects, that we're involved much earlier in the process. So that's an awful lot of steps where something could go wrong, where the lawyers, particularly projects lawyers like myself, where they're not involved and don't have a say in the key risks or any influence on the project delivery method. And it just becomes really challenging then to pick up the project at the later state and run with the decisions that have been made, when sometimes the lawyers are sitting there going, that isn't necessarily the decision I would have made or I would have asked for. So I guess that's just something for the projects people to keep in mind, is learning the perspective of the lawyer and how challenging it can be at sometimes to pick up a project which has already had a number of decisions made which may not actually be the best for the organisation, particularly in terms of risk allocation and how the actual project is going to be carried out. So I often, when I'm involved in an organisation, often as general counsel or senior legal counsel, I'll often try and build my relationship with the projects personnel so that they will actually start to get me involved earlier on in the piece, and so that I can actually then give my input sooner and at times when it will actually be useful right from the start for the planning. I just wanted to give you an idea of the process and how I often see it happening. I've got heaps of videos coming up, so like and subscribe for more. I know most lawyers would probably be preferred to be involved from about sourcing methodology. So when you start talking about going out to market and how you're actually going to source the the project, that's when I think a lot of lawyers would prefer to be involved, if that helps you contracts professionals out there. For me, because I'm a project specialist, I like to be involved right from the start, but that isn't necessarily the norm for most lawyers. For me, I can provide strategic advice on the delivery of a project. I can help justify it internally. I can help draft business cases. I can help sanity check the internal approvals process and answer questions that are needed. One of my specialties is actually preparing risk analysis and helping projects people to use those to decide how to best manage and avoid or mitigate or even insure against risks. I also help in preparing the documents for going to the market, as well as advising on probity issues and helping to evaluate tenders. So you can see there's an awful lot that projects lawyers like myself can do before the time when many contracts personnel would typically call on the lawyer to say, oh, now it's time to draft this contract. So that might just give you a little bit of an idea about how lawyers like to work with their counterparts in the project space.